social norms have shifted in such a radical way, in such an abrupt time frame, that I feel at any point, especially talking to people younger than me, that I could misstep socially and suddenly be the Nazi in the room. I could say something inappropriate. I was in grad school and I hadn't heard the news that there was some racist, not graffiti's an art, but vandalism going on campus. Somebody had written the N-word in a couple of places, public places, and they were talking about it in class, in one of my classes, and I was like 10 minutes late, and I got in there and started in the middle of an argument, not realizing that a racial slight had happened, that they were talking about actual news that had occurred that I was unaware of. And in retrospect, I felt so uncomfortable talking about how racially neutral our campus was. It seemed like I'd overlooked the whole incident when it needed to be addressed, especially in the current state of affairs. I don't know, I heard it was written in the bathroom or something, but going back, I've been in hundreds of bathrooms that have had the N-word in it, and this time it made national news. That's what I'm talking about, the radical shift in social dynamics, in society, in norms, what's expected of us. And I think we're going to find out that there are pros and cons to the pendulum shifting to the other side so quickly, especially with regard to gender norms and how they've changed. And the purpose of me making this video today is basically my internet went down, but right before it went down, they said Joe Rogan was canceled because he was making fun of people who were wearing face masks in, well, it's, I don't know when you're watching this, but it's July 2020. We are in the middle of the COVID-19 coronavirus outbreak, the pandemic, whatever you want to call it, and the CDC recommends social distancing and wearing face masks in public, and I don't know how to feel about it. Part of me feels like, obviously, the air that you're breathing while you're wearing a face mask is clearly coming through the huge holes in the side of the face mask. I know wearing the face mask doesn't protect me. It couldn't. How does the air come in? It doesn't get filtered through the face mask. It's just coming in the side. If there's a errant virus in the air, it's coming in the side and I'm getting it. I could see how face masks limit the spread of virus if people are sneezing or coughing, or if they have the virus and they're exhaling through the mask. A lot of the virus is being filtered, so it slows the spread. But ultimately, wearing the mask is not going to prevent anybody from getting the coronavirus. Not to mention, people who have the virus are spreading it onto their hands, onto the carts, onto the hand baskets that you use at the grocery store. And if you're not washing your hands 100 times out in public or using sanitizer, you're at risk there. And who's to say that this virus doesn't have an agenda of its own to go through everybody it hits, and it's going to hit everybody, and it's just going to filter out the weak. I don't know. I don't know if this... We don't know. We don't have the answers. The CDC is the closest thing to answers, but they said Joe Rogan was canceled for saying face mask things, which is ridiculous because you're allowed to have opinions about the face masks. He's not even a politician, and politicians are supposed to have opinions about these things too. So the host of a podcast can't have an opinion? That seems ridiculous. And he was set straight by Bill Burr immediately afterwards. Bill Burr said, I watched the clip, so I don't know how canceled he is. Bill Burr said, do you really want to do this? I watch the CDC every 2 weeks. If they tell me to wear the mask, I wear the mask. You know, Bill Burr's transitioned into family life. So that's the new Bill Burr. I think a younger Bill Burr may have been on Rogan's side. Who's to tell? But, yeah, wear the face mask, stop the spread to the other people, don't be selfish. But I frequently forget my face mask. But the reason I'm making this video, somewhere in the melee, they were talking about Joe Rogan's outrageous stance on certain political and social issues, and one was he had the belief that men are men and women are women, and that men and women shouldn't fight in the octagon, in mixed martial arts, in MMA fighting, and they made it seem like it was a radical opinion that was Stone Age, like he wasn't attending the current civilization, the current scope of the discussion we're having about progressive rights, men and women being equal, gender fluidity, and it just baffled me because I grew up with you don't hit women, and any guy who hits a woman anywhere, in any circumstance whatsoever, even if it's a police officer decking a woman, you just don't do that. It's a commandment. And just like people in their late 70s in the South say racial shit, because it's been ingrained, the don't hit women thing is such a part of me that I just don't see how men and women can face off in mixed martial arts, in caged fighting. Just like I'm ill-equipped to fight Mike Tyson, even though he's in his 50s now, it could be a lethal choice for me. Men and women cage fighting just doesn't seem like a reasonable choice at all. Mostly due to body composition, I guess. And I was thinking about how I was going to make this video and come to some understanding of when men and women could fight. If women who fight mixed martial arts want to fight men, when can that happen? I guess when there's a screening for percentage of skeletal muscle and you gauge weight class by skeletal muscle, that means since women have a lower percentage of skeletal muscle compared to fat, the ratio of fat to skeletal muscle leans more towards fat than men typically have biologically, genetically. Then I could see possibly if a 140, 150 pound muscular woman is fighting a 110 man who has the same amount of skeletal muscle, then maybe it's a fair fight, but I don't see that happening. I just don't think we're built the same for fighting. Obviously, we have disproportionate amounts of muscle. Women can birth children, men can't. Genetically, there are differences between men and women, the sexual man and woman. Gender fluidity is something I don't even want to discuss because I don't know what the norm is, what people believe. I guess I'm open to hearing more. I was always under the presumption that there are men and women and hermaphrodites, which are uncommon, but men and women are predominant. And now they're talking about gender fluidity. Men can become women, women can become men, men and women can become gender neutral. You know, and I'm open to hearing all the arguments for all these things, but when it comes to cage fighting, I don't know. I mean, I've been growing up, you know, I've been punched by at least 40 or 50 women. The punches aren't the same. I've been punched by probably 100 guys. It's a totally different punch. So I don't know if mixed martial arts females who have trained overcome this obstacle, but when women punch, there's no weight to it. They just hit you and it doesn't hurt. There's no bruise. Whereas men knock people unconscious. There's a certain weight to a punch. When you get punched by a dude, there's weight. They know how to throw a punch naturally. Just how I'd always assumed homosexual men, there seemed to be some predisposition towards certain types of gestures and tones of voice. It seemed to be innate. I don't know if that exists or not, if it's a choice or not, but it seemed to be innate. We are biologically predisposed towards differences. And I mean, the biggest testament to it was my sister is a brick house of a woman. And that doesn't mean she's not good looking, tone, fit, whatever. She's fine. But she has always been, she's tall, she's fit, and she's always been able to hold her own in a fight. And she used to beat the shit out of me growing up. And I always looked to her as a staple of somebody who broke the mold when it comes to gender roles. And she still does defy them all the time. Earning high, still strong, totally independent. Not that other women aren't. She has a certain type of need to go off on her own and prove herself. And she has a more masculine disposition than most women. And we had always kind of wrestled around and fought growing up. And then once I knocked her to the ground accidentally, and she got hurt, and we never fought again. And that's fine, but it just goes to show that there are, even in people I see as obviously biologically female, dispositionally male for the most part, can beat the shit out of any other females, her size or not. She can hold her own. There's just a difference, and men and women shouldn't be cage fighting. We're talking about cage fighting, a lethal bone fracture, compound fracture, neck breaking, ear losing to cauliflowering sport. It's not a friendly sport. It's not a sport that welcomes women, and if women want to fight in MMA, they should be fighting other women. Just like there are no females in the NBA. I mean, as soon as there's a female who is in the starting lineup for an NBA team, I would say it's about time that men and women, mixed martial arts contestants, compete against each other. So whenever there is a female who can dunk, who is coming out 6'7", gridiron, muscular, just, down in the paint, holding their own, getting 10 rebounds, 10 assists a game. When there's a woman who can play in the NBA, there's a woman who can fight a man in mixed martial arts. I guess then we'll just have to break it down to a weight class. But, the day a guy gives birth to a baby is also the day that we can fight each other in mixed martial arts. But as far as it goes, I would never hit a woman, and I would never step in a boxing ring with Mike Tyson. I'm not built for it. Women aren't built to fight men. That's just the way it is. I don't know if hormone supplements and testosterone supplements and steroids can change the composition of a woman to make her equipped to fight men. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I don't know anything about sports medicine. I mean, if Lance Armstrong can overcome cancer and win the Tour de France back to back that many times in a row, I guess medicine can do unspeakable things. So maybe there's room for it. But if you disagree with me, I'm open to changing my beliefs about this. You don't have to yell at me. You can just comment below. Instead of disliking the video, why don't you like the video and comment below? And if you have anything worth repeating, I'll include it in the next video. Or dislike the video. It's up to you. It doesn't matter. But I'd rather be educated than chastised for not knowing more about this. I don't know, you don't hit women. When it's a commandment that you grew up with, radical expedite processing social change comes as a shock. And I don't know, I'm ready to learn more. So, educate me. Where did I go wrong? Not to mention, I didn't even mention that Joe Rogan is not only an announcer for MMA, he is a mixed martial artist. I believe he's a black belt, if not trained in mixed martial arts, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I don't think there's a woman on earth that can fight Joe Rogan. That man is a fighter. He can hold his own, and if he says men and women shouldn't be fighting, he's probably a higher authority on this particular aspect of gender roles. You may have spent more time Twitter or wherever you get your news, Facebook or Tumblr. If you get your news from Tumblr, I'm sure you've heard a lot more about changing gender norms and sexuality and what can be done and what different people are capable of and how we should treat people as individuals. There's a lot of hypocrisy there. There's a lot of white male hating, but we should treat people as individuals. So, you may know a lot more about changing gender norms and gender roles and gender fluidity, but when it comes to mixed martial arts, I think I would go with the guy who studied mixed martial arts and is older than you, and who seems to know at least somewhat what the hell he's talking about in every conversation he has, despite the fact that he talks to people on his podcast from radically different groups. He's educated, and he definitely knows mixed martial arts. He's the goddamn announcer. I trust him. So change my mind.